Good morning. Happy Wednesday. It is time for just a word from the Word. Our passage this morning comes from the prophet Zechariah, chapter 4, verses 6 and 7, and I am reading from the English Standard Version. And here's what it says. Then he said to me, "This is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel, not by might, not by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord of hosts. Who are you, O great mountain? Before Zerubbabel you shall become a plain, and he shall bring forward the top stone amid shouts of grace, grace to it." Verse 6 of chapter 4 is familiar. Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord of hosts. That's extremely familiar in the church world. But I don't know how often we go on to verse 7. I know that I have talked about this before. It's been quite a while. But how often do we continue what the Lord is actually saying to the prophet Zechariah to share with Zerubbabel? It's a battle plan. It's a battle plan. And God was wanting to let his servant know that he was not going to win the battle on his own, that it was not going to be by his own strength or by his own power, but it was going to be through the Spirit of the Lord. And because the Spirit of the Lord was at work, even the mountains would crumble. But did you catch that last sentence? And this is what I just felt the Lord bring to my spirit this morning. Let me read that last sentence of verse 7. And he, speaking of Zerubbabel, shall bring forward the top stone. So the very last stone to fall, amid shouts of grace, grace to it. Victory through grace. We're all human. I've heard it said, and I believe it's true. We're either getting ready to go into a trial, we're in the middle of a trial, or we're coming out of a trial. In other words, tests and trials and difficult times are just a part of our human story. It just is. We're not going to get away from that until the Lord returns. But, whether you're getting ready to go into a trial, cry out, grace, grace. If you're in the middle of a trial, cry out, grace, grace. If you're getting ready to end a trial, coming out of it, instead of going into it, cry out, grace, grace. The writer said it right. 'Twas grace that brought us safe this far, and grace will lead us home. Amazing grace. How sweet the sound. Saved a wretch like you and me. We once were lost, but now we're found. Blind, but now we see. And I know I twisted that just a little bit. But we're not going to get out of this world without some battles. We're not going to get out of this life without some troubles. But sing about that grace. Because victory is going to come because of the grace of God. That's what I mean by titling this devotion, Victory Through Grace. We get victory through the great grace of our God. And so wherever you are today, here's your just a word from the word. Grace. Grace. You might need to shout it. You might need to yell it. You might even need to pound it because you're not seeing victory just yet. But cry out for God's grace. Will it change and take you out of the trial? Maybe. Maybe not. But it will give you victory in your trial. And that grace and that victory in your mind and your spirit will take you through some of the most difficult times in your life. Shout grace, grace, y'all. There's victory through grace. This has been just a word from the word. God bless you. Have a beautiful day. And Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow morning.